Story 1. Death comes slowly at a haunted dinner at the Stanley Hotel. You find yourself standing in front of the grand entrance of the Stanley Hotel, a place known for its eerie history and ghostly sightings. The air is thick with a sense of foreboding as you step inside, the dim lighting casting long shadows that seem to dance and twist in the corners of your vision. You are here for a special dinner event, a festive feast to celebrate the hotel's dark past. As you take your seat at a beautifully set table, you can't shake the feeling of being watched. The other guests chatter nervously, their eyes darting around the room as if searching for something unseen. The first course is served, a delicious soup that warms you from the inside out. But as you take a sip, a chill runs down your spine. You glance around the room, your heart pounding in your chest. That's when you see her, a woman in a flowing white gown, her face obscured by shadows. She drifts through the room, her movements slow and deliberate. No one else seems to notice her presence, but you can't tear your eyes away. As the main course is served, you feel a sense of unease settling in the pit of your stomach. The woman draws closer, her gaze fixed on you. You try to look away, to focus on your meal, but her presence is overwhelming. You can feel her cold breath on your neck, sending shivers down your spine. As dessert is served, the woman is now standing right beside you. You can see her face now, pale and twisted in a silent scream. You want to scream, to run, but you are frozen in place. Suddenly, she reaches out a hand towards you, her fingers like ice against your skin. You feel a sharp pain in your chest, a searing heat that spreads through your body. You gasp for air, your vision blurring as darkness creeps in from the edges. And then, just as quickly as she appeared, the woman is gone. The other guests continue their meal, unaware of the terror that has just unfolded before your eyes. You sit there, shaken and alone, the taste of fear lingering on your tongue. As you leave the Stanley Hotel that night, you can't shake the feeling of dread that clings to you like a shadow. The memory of the haunted dinner will haunt you for years to come, a bitter reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead. Anonymous Spectator Story. Story 2. Escape from a real hell trapped in an abandoned asylum. As I stepped through the decaying entrance of the abandoned asylum, a shiver ran down my spine. The air was thick with the stench of neglect and despair, and the walls seemed to whisper tales of suffering long forgotten. I had been drawn to this place by a cryptic message, a plea for help from someone trapped within its cursed walls. Little did I know the horrors that awaited me inside. The corridors twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of darkness. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, and the sound of distant moans echoed through the empty halls. I could feel the weight of the building pressing down on me, as if it were alive and malevolent. As I ventured further, I came upon a series of locked doors, each one more foreboding than the last. With a sense of growing unease, I pushed open the final door and stepped into a chamber bathed in an eerie red light. Chains hung from the ceiling, and the walls were lined with cages, their bars twisted and rusted with age. In the center of the room, a figure stood hunched over a table, its back to me. As I approached, the figure turned slowly, revealing a face twisted in agony and madness. It spoke in a voice that seemed to come from the depths of hell itself, recounting tales of torture and torment inflicted upon the helpless souls trapped within these walls. I realized then that I was not alone in this cursed place. The spirits of the asylum's former inhabitants lurked in the shadows, their anguished cries filling the air. They reached out to me, their spectral hands grasping for release from their eternal suffering. With a growing sense of dread, I knew that I had to escape this nightmare before it consumed me whole. I turned and ran, the echoes of the spirits' wails following me as I fled back through the twisting corridors. The building seemed to shift and change around me, a labyrinth designed to ensnare and entrap those who dared to enter. Finally, I burst through the rotting entrance and into the cold light of day. Gasping for breath, I looked back at the asylum, its dark windows staring back at me like the eyes of a malevolent beast. I knew then that I had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, and that the horrors of that place would haunt me for the rest of my days. Anonymous Spectator Story. Story 3. Encounter at the Abandoned Asylum, a Survivor's Tale. It was a cold, moonless night when I found myself standing at the gates of the abandoned asylum. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, and the dilapidated building loomed ominously in front of me. As I pushed open the rusted gates and stepped inside, a chill ran down my spine, and I knew that I was not alone. The asylum had been closed for decades, its halls once filled with the tormented cries of the mentally ill. Rumors of unspeakable horrors that had taken place within its walls lingered in the air like a foul stench. I had come here seeking answers, but now I feared what I might uncover. As I made my way through the dark corridors, the sound of my footsteps echoed eerily around me. Shadows danced on the walls, and I could swear I heard whispers in the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest as I pressed on, determined to unravel the mysteries of this cursed place. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind swept through the hallway, extinguishing my lantern and plunging me into darkness. Panic seized me, and I fumbled for a match to relight it. As the flame flickered back to life, I saw them. 3 figures stood before me, their faces twisted in agony. They were the apparitions of former patients, their eyes hollow and filled with despair. I could feel their anguish seeping into my very soul, and I knew then that I was in the presence of true horror. The first figure reached out a spectral hand towards me, its touch like ice against my skin. I recoiled in terror, but the other 2 closed in, trapping me in a circle of torment. Their silent screams echoed in my ears, driving me to the brink of madness. In a desperate bid for escape, I turned and ran, the echoes of their wails following me down the twisting corridors. I could feel their presence behind me, a malevolent force that sought to drag me down into the depths of despair. Finally, I burst out into the night air, gasping for breath as I stumbled away from the asylum. The specters did not follow, but their haunting cries lingered in my mind, a reminder of the darkness that dwelled within those cursed walls. As I made my way home, shaken but alive, I knew that I had survived a brush with true terror. The encounter had left its mark on me, a scar that would never truly heal. And though I had escaped with my life, I knew that the memory of that night would haunt me forever. Anonymous Spectator Story.